How many of you here today have ever killed MPT the next day? Raise your hand. Come on, be honest. You checked the box. You hit the number. You lost the weight. You made the money, but inside. Let me tell you something right now. Goals can give you direction, but growth gives you purpose. And if you want to transform your life, then you need to stop living for goals and start living for growth. Let's be honest. Setting goals is about writing down a goal, visualizing it, breaking it into steps, and then finally hitting that target. You get a hit of dopamine. You feel accomplished. You get it, you're winning. And don't get me wrong. Goals are important. They are the GPS of our lives. They tell us where to go, what to do, how to move forward. But we'll miss goals. We'll tell you what direction to head in, but they won't tell you or why you're going there. That's where growth steps in. Well, it gives you purpose. Goals are the outcome. Growth is about the journey. It's the deep, often invisible transformation that happens when you're out there chasing your dreams. Let me give you a real life example. Think of someone who sets a goal to run a marathon. It takes training, discipline, sacrifice. Now imagine they finish the race. They cross the finish line, medal around their neck, pictures on social friends. They feel incredible for that day, maybe even for that week. But then something strange happens. A few days go by. The high fades. Their high was know what. See, the goal gave them something to pursue. But growth, they actually needed to sustain fulfillment. Because after the race is over. But the person you became while truly matters. Waking up, fam, when you didn't feel like it. Running when your legs were tired. Pushing through self-doubt. Those experience about the finish line. They were building your character, your grit, your resilience. And here's the problem. Too many people's going to hope it will fill them up, complete them, make them feel worthy. But you can be a millionaire and feel miserable. You can hit every career milestone because your soul isn't nourished by outcomes. It's nourished by evolution. Think of a tree. Goals are like the branches is where the world. But growth is the roots. It's underground. It's not flashy, but it's what holds you up when they can't choose branches without growing roots. You're one gust of wind away from collapse. Let me ask you this. Have you ever hit a goal and then failed? Ever gotten a job, bought the car, finished the project, and then wonder you expected? That's because you were focused on getting, not becoming. When you prioritize growth, every moment becomes meaningful. Even stop living for the applause and start living for alignment. You start asking deeper questions. Not, how do I win? But who am I with? But what's necessary for my evolution? And here's something beautiful when you commit to growth. Goals take care of themselves. Because you're not just focused on doing more, you're becoming more. I once met a young man who was obsessed figure income. That was his one goal. He worked 16-hour days, hustled non-stop, sacrificed sleep, health, relationships. And he hit it. He made 6 figures less than us, but when I spoke to him after that year, he looked tired. How do you feel? He said, I thought this would feel better. What he was really saying is, I reached the place, but I didn't grow into the person I thought be. He chose direction, but forgot about purpose. Now imagine if that same person had focused on growth from day one. I'm becoming a leader. I'm building story. I'm learning patience, balance, presence. Not only would he have reached the 6 figures, but he would have become someone he was proud of with purpose beyond the paycheck. Because here's the secret most people miss when you grow. You glow. And when you glow, you grow even more. You become magnetic, but because of who you are. So yes, set your goals, dream big, reach high. Never forget the most powerful few of not what you achieve, but how you evolve along the way. Goals will push you forward, but growth will pull you deeper. And when you live from that depth, when your purpose is rooted in who you're becoming, every step, every setback, every win becomes sacred. Because then you're not just moving forward, you're rising. Achievement is like standing on a mountaintop. It's breathtaking. It's exhilarating. You worked hard to get there. You climbed, you stumbled, you bled, you sweat, and finally, you made it. You snap a photo, you scream out into the sky, and for a moment, everything feels perfect. But then what? After a few minutes, the wind picks up. The view stops changing. You realize the climb is over, and deep inside, something starts to whisper. What now? That's the truth about achievement. It's a moment, not a movement. It's a high that feels amazing but doesn't last. It's like fireworks. bright, loud, unforgettable, but they fade and then the sky goes dark again. Now, don't get me wrong. Achievements matter. They can change your life. They open doors. They give you confidence. But if achievement is your only focus, you'll spend your life chasing mountaintops and never building anything that lasts. Growth, on the other hand, is not a moment. It's a lifestyle. It's not about getting somewhere. It's about becoming someone. It's not a place you reach. It's a path you walk. And here's the magic of growth. It doesn't end. It keeps evolving. It deepens. It expands. It surprises you. Growth transforms the way you live, not just the way you perform. Let me show you this through a simple, relatable example. Imagine a woman named Lisa. Lisa has always dreamed of opening her own bakery. She works a 9 to 5, but she bakes every weekend. She experiments, she studies recipes, she shares with friends. One day, she sets a goal, open her own shop within a year. She hustles like crazy. She learns about business licenses, leases a small space, buys equipment, creates her menu. 12 months later, her bakery is real. Achievement unlocked. But now comes the reality. After the opening buzz, sales fluctuate. There are hard days, bad reviews, rising costs. Lisa starts to feel overwhelmed. She tells herself this was supposed to be the dream. But here's the thing, she hit her goal. She didn't build her growth mindset yet. If Lisa focuses only on the achievement, I opened my bakery. Then once things get tough, she feels like she failed. If she commits to growth, she sees every challenge as a teacher. She studies marketing. She reads books on leadership. She asks for feedback. She grows not just her business, her own patience, resilience, and vision. And that's the part that lasts, because long after the ribbon cutting ceremony fades, growth becomes her fuel. That's the difference. Achievement gets you in the game. Growth keeps you playing, and more importantly, keeps you evolving as a human being. Here's another way to look at it. Think about athletes. Many of them train their entire lives to compete at the Olympics. It's a massive achievement. But the competition lasts a few minutes, maybe hours. That's it. What happens after the medal? That's where the real story begins. Some fall into depression because they spent their entire identity chasing one achievement. Others take that same discipline and apply it to mentoring young athletes, starting charities, launching businesses. The difference, one lived for the medal, the other lived for growth. Growth is the invisible thread that turns your life into something meaningful. You can't hang it on the wall. You can't cash it in. But it shows up in the way you carry yourself. The way you respond to setbacks, the way you treat others, the way you evolve with time instead of resisting it. You might get the job you always wanted. That's an achievement. But showing up every day and becoming a better leader, learning how to inspire others, how to handle stress with grace, that's growth. You might finally buy your dream home. That's an achievement. But turning it into a place filled with love, memories, connection, that's growth. You might hit your fitness goal. That's an achievement. Turning health into a way of life where you're energized, confident, mentally sharp, that's growth. And unlike achievement, growth doesn't end. It's with you forever. It compounds. You can build a whole life on growth. Because here's the secret, when you commit to growth, achievement happens naturally, again and again. When you chase achievement without growth, you'll always feel like you're starting over. So ask yourself, do you want a life of trophies on the shelf or a life of depth, meaning and inner evolution? When you understand this, you stop living for the next big thing. You stop asking, when will I arrive? And start asking, how far can I go inside myself? Achievement might get you applause, but growth gives you peace. It gives you clarity. It gives you strength, not just for a day or a season, but for your entire journey. Because in the end, the race you're running isn't to get somewhere. It's to become someone. And that someone is being sculpted every day, not by your accomplishments, but by your commitment to grow. No one wants to hear this at first, but if you truly want to transform your life, not just change it a little, not just polish the surface, completely break through to a new level, you must be willing to pay the price. And that price is often spelled in two uncomfortable words, pain and discomfort. Let's be real, a world that constantly teaches us to avoid discomfort. Fast food instead of cooking. One, click shopping instead of patience. Dopamine hits instead of lasting fulfillment. We're addicted to ease. But here's the brutal truth. Nothing extraordinary is born from comfort. You don't grow in comfort. You don't evolve in safety. You don't unlock your potential without pressure. Just like a diamond needs heat and crushing force to be formed, you too need the tension of pain and the friction of discomfort to wake up the greatness within you. Think about going to the gym. On day one, it hurts. Your muscles ache. You're gasping for breath. You want to quit after 5 push-ups. That pain, that discomfort, that's the currency of transformation. Your muscles aren't growing in spite of the pain. They're growing because of it. Without the pain, there is no progress. But let's go deeper. Think of emotional pain. The betrayal, the loss, it breaks you open. At first, it feels like something inside you has died. Give it time and let yourself grow through it, and you'll discover that pain didn't destroy you. It rebuilt you. It expanded your capacity for compassion, your ability to forgive, your courage to love again. I know people who found their calling after losing everything. One man I met was laid off from his job after 15 years of loyalty. He spiraled, depression hit, he felt worthless. But in that pain, he began asking deeper questions. Who am I without this title? What do I really want to do? And in that process, through tears, late nights, fear, he discovered a passion for coaching. Now he helps others rebuild their lives after job loss. None of that would have happened if he hadn't walked through the fire of discomfort. See, pain is not the enemy. Pain is the mentor we avoid. It's the teacher that speaks and whispers and shouts, depending on how well we listen. And discomfort is the gym where the soul trains. Think about the most inspiring people you know. Not the ones who got lucky. Not the ones who had everything handed to them. But the ones who radiate strength, wisdom, authenticity. You'll notice something. They've all been through something. They've walked through storms. They've faced setbacks. They've stumbled and stood back up. Every scar on their heart is a lesson learned, a layer of transformation earned through pain. Now ask yourself, why do we try so hard to skip this part of life? Why do we numb, distract, and run from discomfort instead of embracing it as part of the process? You don't avoid pain to succeed. You partner with it. You lean into it. You use it. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by staying cozy in the cocoon. It has to struggle. It has to push and fight its way out. That very struggle is what gives its wings strength. If you cut the cocoon to make it easier, you kill the butterfly. In the same way, when you run from the hard moments in life, you rob yourself of the transformation that's meant to happen through them. Let me share something that changed my life. Your breakthrough lives on the other side of your breakdown. You have to be willing to go through the breakdown. You have to sit in the discomfort. You have to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to show me? Who is this pain trying to make me become? Maybe you're in a season right now where nothing makes sense. You're tired. You feel stuck. Everything feels uphill. If that's you, hear me on this. You are not being buried. You are being planted. Growth is happening underground, in silence, in the dark, in the pain. When it's happening, and when the time is right, you will rise stronger, clearer, wiser. Pain is the test, discomfort is the training, and transformation is the reward. Don't pray for an easier path. Pray for the strength to walk the one that leads to your next level. Because the real you, the resilient, powerful, fearless you, is not found in your comfort zone. It's found in the chaos, in the struggle, in the fire, and that's where transformation begins. So next time you're hurting, next time you feel stretched, next time the voice in your head says, this is too much, I can't do it, remind yourself, this is the price of becoming who has always meant to be. You're not broken, you're breaking through. Keep going. Let's get one thing straight. The comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. It's warm, predictable, and safe. It's the mental recliner where you feel in control. You know what to expect. You know what you're capable of in that small circle. Here's the harsh truth. Your dreams don't live there. Your next level doesn't exist inside the lines of your current habits, thoughts, or fears. The comfort zone is where you survive. Growth is where you come alive. You grow most mentally, emotionally, spiritually when you step into the unknown, when you dare to take action despite the uncertainty, when you stretch yourself so far that you don't even recognize who you were 6 months ago. Let me give you a real world example. Think of someone who's been working the same job for 10 years. Every day looks the same. Same coffee, same commute, same tasks, same conversations. It's stable, sure, but deep inside there's a quiet frustration. A feeling of, I was made for more, yet they don't move. Why? Because staying feels safer than starting over. Fear disguises itself as comfort, but growth doesn't show up at your doorstep. It waits for you just outside your routine. It's the project you've been too scared to start. The difficult conversation you keep avoiding. The class you've thought about taking but haven't signed up for. The risk you've talked yourself out of 10 times. When you finally step beyond that invisible wall of comfort, something shifts. You discover you're more capable than you thought. You realize that fear was just a locked door in your mind, and all you had to do was turn the handle. Let's take a powerful example from everyday life, public speaking. It terrifies most people. The idea of standing in front of a crowd with every eye watching, heart pounding, hands shaking, it's pure discomfort. But the first time you do it, even if your voice cracks, even if you mess up, you walk off that stage changed. You didn't just learn how to give a speech, you learned you could face fear and not be destroyed by it. You stepped into your next level. That's growth. Discomfort is the signal that you're about to do something new, something meaningful, something transformational. Most people confuse that feeling of fear as a reason to stop. In reality, it's a signal to lean in. Every powerful person you admire, every leader, athlete, artist, or visionary didn't get there by staying comfortable. They got there by confronting the very things that scared them. They said yes to the scary thing, the new thing, the hard thing. They said yes when every part of them wanted to say no. And you know what happens when you keep pushing your comfort zone? It expands. What once terrified you becomes your new normal. What once seemed impossible becomes something you now teach others to do. Each time you take a small risk, you build your courage muscle. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that growth matters more than comfort. Picture someone who's always been shy. They avoid parties. They don't speak up in meetings, but one day they decide to push past that comfort zone. They force themselves to ask a question in a meeting. It's awkward. Their face flushes. No one laughs. In fact, someone thanks them for the insight. That moment becomes a turning point. It opens a new path. Growth rarely comes from doing the extraordinary. It often comes from doing the ordinary differently, from doing things that are just outside your usual range. It's found in the awkward first steps, in being a beginner again, in risking failure to discover new strength. Think about nature. A seed has to break apart before it grows into a tree. A chick has to break out of its shell to experience life. Transformation always involves discomfort. It always requires leaving the old container to step into something new. If you're serious about becoming your highest self, you have to stop choosing what's easy. You have to choose what challenges you, what pushes you to think, speak, act, and live at a higher frequency. Because comfort won't get you there. Comfort will keep you in circles. Growth will move you in straight lines forward. Let me be brutally honest, staying in your comfort zone will give you a quiet life, not a fulfilling one. You'll look back one day and realize you played it safe and missed your greatness. But if you commit to growing, if you commit to stepping out even when it's scary, you'll wake up each day with a sense of aliveness. Look in the mirror and respect the person you see. Not because they were perfect, but because they were brave. So the next time you feel that nudge in your gut, the nervous energy, the doubt, the fear, that's not a sign to stop. That's your invitation. That's your moment to grow. Make the call. Say yes to the uncomfortable room, the harder path, the uncertain opportunity. Because the truth is this, your comfort zone may feel safe. You're calling lives outside it, and you. You were never meant to stay safe. You were meant to grow and grow and grow. There's a moment in every person's life when they ask the deeper question, not, what do I want to achieve, but who do I want to become? That's the shift. That's when your life changes forever. Because goals, while powerful, are focused on outcomes, what you can measure, attain, accomplish. But growth is about your identity, your evolution, your transformation as a human being. And in the end, what truly matters isn't you got, it's who you became in the process. Let's paint a picture. Imagine someone sets a goal to earn $1 million. That's their big dream. They hustle hard. Late nights, early mornings, they network, sell, grind, and eventually they do it. They hit that milestone. $1 million in the bank, goal achieved. But now what? If the pursuit was only about the money, then what's left when the digits hit the screen? Joy, sure. A sense of pride, maybe. But if it stops there, if the journey was just about getting, not growing, then the fulfillment will fade faster than you can celebrate. Now imagine the same journey, but with a different lens. That same person set the $1 million goal not just to get rich, but to become a disciplined, focused, courageous leader. They used every challenge as a lesson. They strengthened their failures. They strengthened their character. They developed patience, humility, and persistence. When the money arrived, yes, it was sweet, but the real treasure, the person they became in the process. Because money can come and go, status can rise and fall. But who you are, your inner strength, your mindset, your values, that's what carries you through every season of life. That's the difference. Goals are about what you get. Growth is about who you become. Let's take another example from daily life. Fitness, maybe your goal is to lose 30 pounds. That's admirable. You want to feel healthier, more confident. So you start training, eating clean, showing up every day. The first few weeks are tough, but you're focused. You hit the gym even when you don't want to. You say no to fast food. You get up early. Then one day you step on the scale, 30 pounds down, you did it. But what's more powerful than the number is this: you became someone who shows up for yourself. Someone who doesn't make excuses. Someone who makes health a lifestyle, not a punishment. The transformation isn't in the weight you lost. It's in the identity you gained. And here's what no one tells you: once you become that person, no one can take that away from you. Circumstances can change, but your character is yours. So many people chase goals thinking it will make them feel fulfilled, and for a moment it does. The applause, the recognition, the trophy, it feels amazing. But eventually it fades. And if you haven't grown, if you haven't evolved internally, you'll find yourself empty, searching for the next big thing. Another goal to fill the void. That's why growth matters more. Because growth doesn't fade, it builds on itself, it layers strength over strength, it raises your standards, and it rewires how you see the world. Think of people who inspire you. Maybe it's a parent who worked 2 jobs to provide. Maybe it's a mentor who overcame adversity. Or an athlete who pushed past injury. What makes them inspiring isn't just what they achieved, it's who they became in pursuit of that achievement. Their resilience, their integrity, their ability to rise again and again. Growth shapes your identity in ways goals never can. Goals can make you successful, but growth makes you significant. There's a story I once heard about a young woman who dreamed of becoming a writer. Her goal was to publish a best-selling book. For years, she wrote in coffee shops at night, between shifts, rejection after rejection, 100 no's. But she kept writing, she kept believing. Eventually, she self-published her first book, and it took off. Here's the powerful part. She said, "The book isn't what I'm proudest of. I'm proud that I didn't give up. I became someone I never thought I could be. Someone who finished." That's the power of growth. You become someone you're proud of. Someone who can face fear. Someone who knows how to get back up. Someone who leads, loves, serves at a higher level, not because of what they've gained, but because of who they've become. So the next time you set a goal, yes, dream big, aim high, chase it with fire. But remember this, the goal is the vehicle. The real destination is you. The wiser, stronger, grounded version of you waiting on the other side of discomfort. Don't just focus on what you want to get. Focus on who you want to become in the process. Because in the end, it's not about the trophy on the shelf or the number in the bank. It's about the person you meet in the mirror and whether or not they reflect the depth, courage, growth you were always meant to live. Growth is not something that randomly falls out of the sky and into your lap one morning like a gift. It's not an accident. It's not luck. It doesn't come because of age, talent, how many books you keep on your shelf. Growth is a decision. It's a commitment. And above all, it's intentional. Too many people think that just by going through life, clocking in and out, dealing with stress, aging, having families, working jobs, they're automatically growing. That's not true. You don't grow just because time passes. You grow because you choose to lean into the lessons. You grow because you seek out the stretch, not avoid it. You grow because you are deliberate about becoming better. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you scheduled time, not for work, not for chores, not for entertainment, but for you? For your development, for your mindset, for your heart, your soul, your personal expansion. Most people schedule meetings. They schedule deadlines. They schedule coffee runs, but they don't schedule growth. And that's where the difference lies between someone who changes with the seasons and someone who rises through them. Take this example. Imagine 2 coworkers, Sarah and Mike, both work in the same company, same position, same opportunities. Sarah finishes work and spends her evenings scrolling through social media, binging shows and waiting for Friday to come. Mike, on the other hand, dedicates 30 minutes a day to listening to leadership podcasts. He reads a few pages of a book every night before bed. He reflects on his conversations at work. He studies his mistakes. He watches TED Talks. He gets curious. A year later, Sarah is exactly where she started. But Mike, he's not just smarter, he's sharper, more confident, more creative. He's not naturally gifted. He's just intentional. Growth must be pursued on purpose. And the beauty is, it's not about massive changes overnight. It's about the daily decision to do something that stretches you, a conversation that deepens you, a book that challenges you, a moment of silence that grounds you. One of the most powerful things you can do for yourself is this: create rituals of growth. That means scheduling time every day, even just 20 minutes, where you feed your mind or nurture your spirit. It's a sacred appointment, not to impress anyone, not to post about it, but to connect with the future version of yourself. Because here's what's real: if you don't plan for growth, life will distract you away from it. You'll always be too busy, too tired, too not ready. The urgency of the world will drown out the quiet necessity of growth. And one day you'll look back and realize that you've been moving, yes, but in circles. Look at nature. Even a tree doesn't grow unless it gets sunlight, water, and space. And those don't happen by accident. A gardener makes sure of it. In the same way, you have to be the gardener of your own life. You have to feed your mind with truth, your heart with inspiration, and your spirit with belief. And you must do it deliberately. Think of the people who've truly transformed their lives. They weren't just lucky. They made intentional decisions to change their habits, to wake up earlier, to cut off toxic relationships, to take that scary class, to ask for feedback, to listen more, to take accountability. All of that is growth, and none of it is accidental. There's a powerful story of a woman named Carla. She was a single mother working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. Her days were chaotic. She barely had time to breathe. Instead of making excuses, she carved out 15 minutes a day, just 15 for herself. Sometimes it was reading, sometimes journaling, sometimes meditating. She protected that time like her life depended on it. 5 years later, Carla wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. She started a small business on the side, took night classes, new friendships. She told someone once, "Those 15 minutes saved my life. They reminded me who I wanted to be." That's the power of intention. Growth doesn't require a perfect plan, it requires a committed heart. So if you want to grow, truly grow, stop waiting for the right mood, the right moment, the perfect mentor, the next New Year's resolution. Start today. Start now. Pick up the book, have the conversation, take the step, write the goal, reflect on the lesson, create the space, set the alarm. Don't treat growth like a luxury. Treat it like oxygen, because it is. The person you want to become is not out of reach. They're already inside you, waiting for your commitment to show up. But you can't stumble into that version of yourself. You must choose them over and over, through daily decisions, through focused effort, through intentional growth, because in the end, life doesn't give us what we hope for. It gives us what we grow into. And growth, real, deep, lasting growth only happens when you make it a priority, not a possibility. There's a moment in everyone's journey where they hit a wall, not because they've reached their limit, because they've reached the edge of what they currently believe is possible. You see, most people are not stuck because of their circumstances. They're stuck because of their mindset. Because the version of them that's standing still cannot imagine the version of them that's already in motion. And this is where growth becomes your superpower. Because when you grow, you unlock doors that didn't even exist in your reality before. Growth doesn't just make you better. It expands your world. It reveals paths that were invisible to you before. It gives you new language, new tools, new energy. It's like cleaning the fog off a window. You start to see things clearly that were there all along, but you were too clouded to recognize them. Think about how a child learns to walk. At first, all they see is crawling. That's their world. But once they take their first steps, everything changes. They suddenly access new parts of the house. They explore the outdoors. They go places they couldn't reach on their hands and knees. Their world didn't change. Their capacity did. That's what growth does. Let's take a real life example. Meet James, corporate employee who felt like he was trapped in a routine. Wake up, go to work, come home, repeat. He had ideas, dreams. He wanted to start his own business. He wanted to speak on stages. He wanted to live with more purpose. But every time he thought about making a change, fear showed up. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if I lose what I have? Or James didn't need a new job. He needed a new mindset. So instead of quitting everything, he committed to growth. He started small, reading 10 pages of a personal development book every day, listening to a podcast on the way to work, attending weekend workshops, journaling his thoughts slowly. He started seeing himself differently. The doubts didn't vanish, but they got quieter. The vision didn't get easier, but it got clearer. Then, one day, an idea clicked. A side project, he tested it, it worked. He kept going, and within 2 years, James walked away from his corporate job, not because he escaped his life, because he outgrew the limitations of the one he was in. See, growth will always take you to places that your current version of self can't imagine. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are ready for. And readiness isn't a feeling. It's a result of who you're becoming. Have you ever looked back at a moment in your past where you felt stuck, hopeless, unsure, and now with more knowledge, more experience, more confidence, you say, whoa, I could handle that now. That's growth. You've expanded, and in that expansion, you now see solutions that weren't available to you before. Not because they didn't exist, because you hadn't evolved enough to reach them. Growth rewrites your possibilities. And here's the beautiful twist. When you grow, you don't just unlock new possibilities for yourself, you unlock them for everyone around you. When a parent grows, their children learn new patterns. When a leader grows, the team is inspired to elevate. When a friend grows, the circle starts to shift. You are a walking permission slip. Every step you take into growth gives someone else the courage to do the same. So your growth isn't selfish. It's service. Because when you expand, your light gets brighter, and others can see their own way forward because of you. Now let's bring it back to something simple. Let's say you want to improve your communication skills. You're shy. You avoid tough conversations. You struggle with speaking up. That might feel like your personality, but it's not. It's just your current limit. Through reading, practicing, learning, suddenly, you're leading meetings. You're sharing your truth. You're connecting on a deeper level. That single growth area unlocks new jobs, new relationships, new confidence. That wasn't a personality change. That was an expansion of possibility. And it's not a one-time event. Growth is a compounding force. One small shift today leads to new doors tomorrow. One new skill leads to 5 new opportunities. One courageous choice leads to a lifetime of self-trust. You begin to realize that the ceiling you thought was holding you back, it was never real. It was just the ceiling of your last version, the one that needed to grow. So if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, bored, or like life isn't offering you anything new, don't look outside. Look inside. Ask, because that question is the key to every next chapter of your life. Don't wait for the world to change. You grow. You expand. And as you do, your vision stretches, your confidence rises, and your future unfolds. Because the moment you commit to growth is the moment the world starts to show you all the possibilities that were hiding in plain sight, just waiting for you to rise. Imagine spending years chasing a dream, putting in the hours, sacrificing sleep, missing birthdays, grinding day in and day out, and then finally reaching that finish line. You made it. Cross the goal, you get the applause, the high fives, maybe even the money or the promotion or the title. But then, instead of feeling fulfilled, you feel empty. This isn't a fantasy. It happens to people every single day. They crush their goals, they win, but inside they feel disconnected, lost, even hollow. Why? Because somewhere along the way, they got so focused on the outcome that they forgot to become someone in the process. They chased the goal, but skipped the growth. And when you skip the growth, the reward doesn't stick. It doesn't feel like enough, because it's not you that changed, it's just your surroundings. Here's the truth. Achieving a goal might impress others, but growing through that journey is what fulfills you. Because growth gives your accomplishments meaning. Growth turns success into substance. Growth turns hustle into transformation. And without it, even the biggest goal can feel small. Let's take a real-life example. Picture someone training for a marathon. Their goal. Cross that finish line, they obsess over it, they run every day, they track their miles, watch their diet, buy the gear. Race day comes and they complete it. That moment is electric. Afterward, they feel deflated. Why? Because they were so obsessed with the outcome that they ignored the opportunity to grow. They didn't reflect. They didn't learn about their resilience, their discipline, their inner strength. They didn't embrace the process. They just endured it. Now imagine another runner. Same goal, finish the marathon. But this runner pays attention to who they're becoming along the way. They keep a journal about their mental battles. They use the hard days to discover how tough they really are. They learn patience. They learn how to stay motivated when no one's watching. They become someone stronger, more centered, more self-aware. When they cross that finish line, it's not just about the medal, it's about the milestone in their evolution. That's the difference. When you focus only on goals, life becomes a checklist. When you focus on growth, life becomes a journey. Let's bring this into the world of career and business. Someone might set a goal to make 100,000 this year. They push hard, they work weekends, they close deals, they hit the number, but now they're burned out, disconnected, emotionally exhausted. The money is there, but the joy, the fulfillment absent, because all the energy went into chasing the goal, not into growing into the kind of person who can sustain that level of success with peace, clarity. But another person could have the same goal and ask themselves, how do I grow while achieving this? They learn leadership, they invest in communication, they build habits that protect their energy, they reflect on what really matters, they grow in wisdom, not just in wealth. And at the end of the year, only do they have the $100 and they become someone who is ready for even more, and they're fulfilled, not just successful, because growth fills your soul. Goals fill your schedule. One of the saddest things in life is to reach a goal and realize you became someone you don't like in the process. Maybe you abandoned your values. Maybe you hurt people. Maybe you became robotic or bitter. That's not success. That's a cost too high to pay. Real success is when you win and grow. And the good news, you get to choose. Every day you get to choose whether you'll simply chase goals or become someone greater in the pursuit of them. Growth isn't always easy. It requires honesty. Maybe it demands reflection. It calls for humility, but it rewards you with depth, purpose, and real joy. Think about the best moments of your life, the moments that really meant something. Chances are they weren't just the ones where you hit a target, they were the moments where you overcame something, where you rose above an old version of yourself, where you did something hard and came out changed. That's growth. That's the stuff that sticks. So don't just chase the trophy. Don't just hunt for the title, the number, the applause. Ask yourself, who am I becoming on the way there? Because that's what will echo in your relationships. That's what will live on in your character. That's what will shape your legacy. You can climb the ladder of success only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. But when you grow through the climb, where the ladder ends up, you win because you become someone wiser, more grounded, more powerful. So today, stop asking, what's the next goal? Start asking, what's the next level of me? Because when you chase goals without growth, you may reach the summit, but you'll miss the view. And that view, That's the gift of growth.